Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Real Estate with Ryan on a Saturday. Excited to be in the studios with you. It's been a while, and I'm excited to tune into a good show today. We're talking a little real estate. We're going to give you a little market update. And we're going to talk about, as we talked about last week on our social post, we're going to talk about homeschooling. Kids are back to school, or if they're not back to school, they're going to start next week. Are we going homeschool? We're going public school? Everything going on with this Corona deal. What's going on? I know I've got little ones, and so April is going to be with me, but she couldn't make it in the studio. She sends all the love, and part of that topic will relate today, just the stress of the parents. All they have to do to get ready for school normally has been heightened by tenfold, right? And it's the levels are off the chart. So we're busy dealing business and helping people and helping home sell and working with new staff. And then we've got kids going to school. Oh, no, they're not. Mommy's going to be a teacher. It's crazy. It's a crazy world we're living. 2020 is wild. I always tell everybody in 2020, if it wasn't for my son born, we do a restart and recap. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. He said, let's just go ahead and get through 2020. But it's all mindset and how we go about it. And thank you guys for tuning in. If for some reason you tuned in the first time, haven't tuned in, we like to welcome you. I'm a real estate broker here in town. My name is Ryan Coleman. Along with April Coleman, we own Hometown Realty, proud corporate sponsor of the University of Tennessee Athletics, our Vols. Excited to hear about them coming up. So real quickly before we get into our show, I think we're going to be about 25,000 people in the stands. So I think we might have stands. If you watch our posts or watch UT, the schedules are put out. We're going to play all SEC teams. So I'm excited about that. I think we're going to have football, knock on wood, if everybody does their part, and have something different to watch other than the news. And if you're like me, I am so ready for some football. Stay tuned to our page. We do have tickets. I'm not sure what amount will be available. I'm not sure how all that works out. In the previous years, we've given away tickets and things like that, but we will have them available and we will make them available to you guys if that happens. But that's the update on UT, Tennessee going on. I want to talk about some congrats. We always like to start our show with some congrats, and we've been busy. So with the real estate market, we had some new listings on the market. 1113 Pinecrest Road, Jacksboro was just recently listed. 927 13th Street in La Follette. That was actually listed one day. Got $10,000 above the seller wanted, full price, and is closing in 30 days. Super excited for her. New cabin out in Sevierville, 1815 Trout Way. A lot of activity on that property. You want to check that out. 2-bedroom cabin in Sevierville. They're not lasting long in that market. Make sure you check that out. 1400 Cove Lane, that listed. Guess what? Same trend. Went on the market, sold very quickly. 140 Center Park Lane in Oak Ridge. Beautiful home. 2-story with a basement. Definitely want to check that on the market. That's just been on the market a couple weeks, so make sure you check that out. Congrats to our brand new listing out in Greenbrier, 291 Greenbrier Road, Talbot. They tried to put the home on the market for sale by owner. Didn't have the success that they were looking for. Guess what? We came in, got them $7,000 above list price, and they're pending in just a couple days on the market. Got a new price on 142 Raspberry Drive. That's a home to see. We're listed at $399,950. Beautiful 2-story, walkout basement, unfinished, 1-acre lot. Make sure you check that out in New Market. And so much more. We won't get into that. And congrats to 2115 Muddy Creek in Dandridge. That just went under contract. And so many more. We won't spend the whole segment talking about that. But we're talking about going back to school. How do we do that in real estate? How does that tie into real estate? Well, I'll tell you how that ties into real estate. What we're looking in the market now is consumers have always wanted to stay close to their work. So we want to stay close to work. We have a less of a commute. We'll talk more in the second half about that commute and how many people are looking in the rural markets and how that the rural market has shot up and that market and that inventory is very, very slim. So right now, if you're looking at the housing market in East Tennessee, Knoxville, what you'll find is that supply and demand is still here, meaning supply is not here, but demand is strong. Interest rates are some of the lowest levels you're going to see. We were getting rate quotes today, somewhere around 2.5 on a project that we were working on. So the rates are at phenomenal opportunities. You can, if you're ever thinking about buying or selling, why I think this time is really great is because the opportunity now to either come from that home that you're selling, right, and get that move up home. Now, I know everything's going on in the market. It can be challenging. It can be a little nerve-wracking with the unemployment rates and jobs. But if you're ever going to make a move and you're in a field where you feel good and you possibly have growing, this is the opportunity, because you're going to borrow at a really, really low rate. And the inventory that's out there, some of that's going to change. We're going to talk about in the next 12 months how everything, the housing market, what we're seeing in 2021. We know we're going into an election. We know there's a lot of stuff there that may not be here after November, right? So as soon as November, some of these things may not be in play. We're going to talk about that. But then let's talk about when we're homeschooling or we're going to public school, why is there a need for more space? I think you're seeing, if we're coming out of this pandemic, and if you've been quarantined or been in the house longer than you ever needed to be, if you're in that house, you just felt like there's not enough space. You ever had that smaller house and you felt like, honey, I need some more room. I need my private office. I need my man cave. Well, I think a lot of that comes into play, and you're seeing that really come up. Our rural areas for more land, our basements, our family rooms, our workout rooms. One of the biggest things that I think you've seen, which kind of hurts the economy, but you're seeing it all throughout the area. So if you guys have like a gym membership and things like that, those things have kind of really, they've suffered as those businesses happen. And a lot of people, including ourselves, have converted that garage, right, into your own gym, your own fitness area. So we're seeing a lot of that opportunity. So with the market for the move up buyer, that's where we're seeing that opportunity. So as a seller, if you're ever thinking about buying in this market, maybe you're just thinking about selling, you're downsizing, give us a call, talk to us, because we're getting some really good prices that we haven't seen in a long time. And that's saying you never know when that's going to go. But right now, things are looking really good for our sellers and opportunities. Buyers can really borrow money at really incredibly low rates. The challenge with that market, right? It's a supply and demand. It's never going to be a seller or a buyer's market. So maybe it's a little bit more the sellers, and the buyers are having a hard time finding the right inventory. That's why we always encourage working with a great agent, and we can always help you with that throughout the whole process. And sometimes I always tell everybody, it's not on Zillow, it's not on Realtor.com. Some of the best deals you ever find are working with an agent or before they even hit the market. You know, in this market, timing's everything, speed is everything, and having an agent and a team that works for you to kind of help you through that process. So we'll jump right in here and let's talk about this. And I'll use our personal life to kind of go in what we're dealing with the school. So my daughter's 5. Obviously, with everything going on, there's a lot of other different situations, but she started in kindergarten. Pretty special time, and we weren't sure. So we were going to send Kinsley to CAK. My aunt teaches there and had some relationships there. Felt really good about the school and where we wanted to go. But unfortunately, everything going on, we weren't sure where things were going, so we opted to do homeschool. So how many of you guys out there are thinking about possibly going back to school, but there's just no way we could wear the mask for 3 or 4 hours a day? Just not going to happen. And we made a decision with that, just really thinking, sitting there for 2 or 3 hours with your mask on. I know we have them on at work and, different things like that, but that's hard. That's hard for a kid. So what are the advantages of homeschooling versus going to public school? We're going to talk about that and kind of go into some of these topics. But what we looked for was one of the biggest factors was homeschooling is not a viable option for everybody. We wanted to get her to the public school, right? Or private school. We wanted to get her out of there, get her to the house, be around interaction. Unfortunately, with everything going on, it looks like that possibility was not going to happen. So we chose homeschool. Do you know that Fox News came out the other day, Fox Business was out there, and they said in 2019, they had 4 million parents homeschool. In 2020, you want to know the numbers? 10 million. That's a 6 million jump. That's pretty strong. And I know we have several parents that are doing that, friends of ours that are doing that, and some are going back to public school. I don't know if there's a right way to do it, but I got a couple benefits of homeschooling and not homeschooling. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then we get into the second part of the show. We'll talk about the housing market and kind of all this kind of flows together with that. Some of the benefits of homeschooling, you get to focus in exactly on the curriculum. You know what the child's doing. You can have that one-on-one attention during that process. You get into where kids, it's education is fun, and you can do different things where when you have a group setting, you may not have that opportunity. I know one of the challenges that my wife was going to have is doing that homeschool, but we looked at it as an opportunity. Not only is mommy the teacher, right? Mommy as a teacher can be challenging, but there's an opportunity now for mom to bond more with my daughter. When my wife first started and Kinsley was born, she was nursing. She was at the hospital. And so that time was limited. And so unfortunately, some of that time was lost. Look, we're coming up on a break real quick. We'll talk more about this topic in the housing market here soon. Stay tuned.
When it comes to the real estate market, turn to the experts that focus on you. With over 20 years experience, Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty knows what it takes. It's the right marketing. It's the right exposure. Ryan and April will use their expertise each step as they guide you through the home buying and selling process. Ultimately, it's about results.
You need someone you can trust that is committed to you.
You have a lot of choices, but the choice is simple. It's Hometown Realty.
Your friend promised we wouldn't be homeless.
He promised. He's doing everything to fix it.
You need to call and have him fix it now.
Hey, man.
Found us a house.
No, not yet. Let me call you back. We're working on it.
Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty.
He says he's doing the best he can do, honey.
Well, he's taken too long. I knew we should have gone with Ryan Coleman.
Choosing the right agent is never easy.
Call your hometown experts. We'll take care of all the details and make sure you don't get stuck in a motel. Welcome back to Real Estate with Ryan. Thank you for staying tuned with us after the break. As I was talking in the first segment, we're talking about a little homeschooling. Do we go back to public schools? What do you do now, and how is that affecting kids across East Tennessee? How is it affecting the real estate market? Are those two tied together? They sure are. They're definitely tied together because that old saying, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. And if the house is unrest, it's going to make everything in your whole business and your whole personal life just kind of be out of place. So our kids are our most important asset to us. I mean, our kids are our everything, right? Kids are just everything to us, and they're our whole world. And stuff like this is challenging, but we've taken some time as parents to kind of digest it. I think all of us have taken time to digest going through this whole process and looking at it. And, one of the biggest step, I think one of the nervous factors is not everybody's set up to homeschool. Not everybody's set up to do that. Not everybody can financially do that. And just came down to a decision that we were going to do it. But I always tell my wife this, and we talk about it, and we had to leave out for something today, but you tend to find focus on, you make time for things that are important, right? We're always busy. We're busy. We're doing radio shows, this, that, and it's got so much going on, but you find time for things that you are important. You make time. It's a must, right? It's not a question whether daddy's going to take his daughter to kindergarten the first day or be there at a certain time. Not always can you make it happen, but sometimes you make a must. So I think we got to make a must for whatever's best for your family and putting them in school. And some of the topics that we were talking about the first show were some of the positives. So I'm going to kind of weigh the pros and what's the cons of homeschooling. Not that it's right for everybody. I mean, perfect world for us. I think it may be one of those years where we're going to do it, something we look back on. It was a great opportunity. We're talking about that you can have that bond. My wife started back when we had our first child. She was at Children's phasing out, and she lost some of that one-on-one time. She had to go right back to work, as most moms do, and it was hard. And so now as we have my second child, and it's an opportunity for your moms or dads, whoever's keeping their kids with homeschooling, to spend a little extra bonding time. Never a bad time. I remember looking back at those times when I had with my daughter, and I never replace it. We'll always have work. You never get that time back. So understand in life, there's seasons. Sometimes you just roll with the flow, and sometimes this year in 2020 to roll with the flow. You got to create a flexible schedule, not possible in public school. That's something I didn't know. Her cousins homeschool, and I wasn't really sure of the process, but what you do in private or public school, you have so many hours that you have to be there. But with homeschool, you have that opportunity. There's so many hours you need to fit in the schedule, but it's more flexible. Well, being self-employed business owners like we are, those are real positives. So a lot of things that we could count into homeschool would be If we're doing athletics, those are things for PE. If we're working on cooking. So we've got to be more creative in some of the things that we're doing, but also we'll get credit for homeschooling. Now, unfortunately, she's just in kindergarten. So I told April, I said, if Mommy and Daddy can't figure out kindergarten, we're going to have a hard time. Anything past kindergarten could be sketchy, but we'll leave it there. They have on here, this is a different article, talks about just keeping children away from the craziness of today, negative behaviors, of course, the violence, stuff like that going on. That's just the world we live in, so positive there. You get a chance to have conversations, certain topics with your children. I know right now when I came home, I had a bug. A bug was in a bag. I said, what is a bug doing in a bag? I came home and I was like, that's weird. And so Daddy threw the bug, this big old bug. I mean, he was huge. And I threw him in the trash. Well, Daddy had to end up get the bug out the trash can last night because that was our science project. So Daddy's not even used to what's going on. It's an uproar in the Coleman house. But things like that, they're neat. And opportunities, spending more time assisting children during maybe it's adolescence times. You're going to be there with them one-on-one, draw closer to the spouse, take vacations. I know one of the things that we did with CAK, we do our homeschooling. And so that opportunity, we went to the zoo. So one of the first things we did as a field trip, we went to the zoo. Really educational, hands-on, and the kids could live it. Kinsley loved it. It was a blast. Actually, didn't have any clue, but did you know that they're teaching Spanish to kindergartners? And I said, well, why would she need to know Spanish? My daughter loves it. She said, you papa. It was funny. It was funny. It really was funny. And so you're exposing them to so many different things. Now, here's some of the disadvantages of homeschooling. Talk about that real quickly. You're not around children all day long. This is one of the biggest things that I had a challenge with is my daughter was in daycare. It was important that we socialized her early on so that she wouldn't not have that interaction. I have her in karate. She's doing basketball. She's doing all kinds of different things, soccer. And so it was important to have that interaction. I think that's important. But it may be difficult. And of course, we know my daughter misbehaves sometimes, but, there's some of that disadvantage there. Restrain anger and remain with the parent, struggle when learning. This is probably one of the biggest disadvantages is mom, and she's the teacher. And so, if the kids are in unrest, it could be very, very stressful. So those are things that may be more difficult. And some of them may be slower paced, because of mom, it's your daughter or it's your son. And guess what? They're like, it's mom and dad. I want to go play. I don't want to do schoolwork. And so that can be a real challenge. And, another negative would be if you got to constantly motivate them. And so, it's going to be hard there. One of the challenges, are you homeschooling? Do you have opportunities to have other playmates? And then do you look for other playmates during that opportunity to what? That are other homeschoolers and those things. Here's the thing, and we'll get into a little bit of the real estate market and closing out the show. So when you're in Rome, you do as Rome do. You pick up, you adapt, innovate, and you roll with the flow. I think as good parents, the biggest thing is kids are most important to us. And no matter what comes our way, we're going to roll with it. We're going to deal with it. And we're going to adapt. We're going to love them. We're going to be there for them. It's one of those things, we're doing pictures and we're closing homes and we got our masks on and we're taking pictures. And I closed with some great clients the other day and they were like, you want to take it with our mask? I'm like, yeah, why not? Let's just keep our masks on because we'll remember the time. It'll be a time in a season. We'll pull good from it. It won't be all doom and gloom. And like anything, this too shall pass, but it can't pass quick enough. So let's talk about a little real estate. We talked about earlier in the segment about non-urban properties going to basically out in the rural area. And we're up 16%. 16% buyers are choosing to go out into rural America. And, basically your rural areas, people want some space. People want some land. And having an opportunity of being in a big city, sometimes right now people are making a change. Let's talk about the market in whole. During this time and year over year, there's been a change in listings. Month over month. This is Zillow's report in July 2nd. Total listings are down 20%. New pending sales are up 18.8. New listing taken month over month, we're showing gain is 5.2. But year over year, we're down from new listings taken. I know we're seeing that in our business and a lot of agents out there as well. The housing market recovery. Prior to this, back in February, March, if you've seen a little bit of a dip, 106 went all the way down to 83. And then we're starting to come back up at 95. Now, you guys on the radio can't see that, but my social media land can. And, one of the biggest things that we want to watch about is showings as a whole, as a national, we're down in the South about 23%. So it's going to happen. We're going to rebound back up. So our showings in the North America market from March 17th to about 5.5, right in some of those areas, you can kind of see the V-shape increase. So we're definitely moving in the right directions and moving that way. We did a little survey, and they were talking about 87% of home sellers are still concerned with the pandemic and will not sell. So that's a lot of factors with the refinances are coming in. And one of the things we're going to watch here coming in the next 12 months is of all the forbearances that are past due, 77% of their mortgages have some equity. So the challenge with that is when all this gets said and done, where are we going to be on that? And are the people with the banks and the forbearances are going to call it all due, or they're going to work with them? Who knows? They're the banks. So we'll just have to see that. But hope you found that show helpful. Glad to be back in the studio with you guys. As always, if you ever need us, it's an easy number here at the office. It's 693-SOLD, 693-SOLD. You can go to my website, easy, ryancoleman.org. We've got all UT's signings on there. We've got some good stuff. And, of course, every Saturday you can check us here on the radio. Look forward to seeing you guys next weekend. Have a great Saturday. We'll see you then.